Hello and welcome back to another happy hour. I am one of your hosts, Ryan Frink, creative director here at Backflip. And this is a fun one. If you've listened to our podcast, you will have heard Mr. TC the Witt before on it several times.
This is true. This is true. Although you're putting a little pressure on me to say this is a fun one. Like I might have some very serious things to talk about.
There's all the pressure in the world, so don't screw it up. This is live. Anything you say here can be held against you in a court of law. So I'm creative director here at Backflip. We like to just hang out and talk with our favorite libations. I don't know if you have a drink or not. I have 5. So here's my water.
I have this blue bottle of moonshine that I'm going to get ripped on because, at 10 o'clock in the a.m. West Coast.
That's true. It is a little earlier for you.
Ooh, it burns.
I'll give you a proper introduction in just a second, but I also want to introduce my co-host, John Shoemaker, right over here. Say hey, John.
Hey.
What's happening?
Did I become a host?
You're always a co-host.
I still have coffee going here.
I also want to show that I also have tea. I don't know if you're counting at home. So tea, this is a gin and tonic. It is technically noon here. Water. I've got some Carbon 4 because this show has just become a commercial for our friends at Carbon 4.
Carbon 4.
Carbon 4? What's that?
Well, it's one more than Carbon 3. A little bit of bubbly. And my present meal is this little smoothie. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I go a little overboard on the whole happy hour drink thing, but
I think so. You're happy to have drinks that take you a full hour to consume. I think you've taken this a little too literally.
I'm actually just happy to have TC on here. So welcome, TC. Now we've gotten to your point. Just give us a little introduction. We've been chatting a little while before, trying not to talk about all the important things off the air, but
talk about the boring stuff. Just how's the weather?
And I was like, no, shut up, save it, shut up, don't say that.
I do that all the time. I suppose I should give a proper introduction, but like I podcast regularly, and there are several conversations that will start with a friend where I'm like, no, let's just save this for the next episode. I'm like, we're not recording for 3 days. I'm like, I know, just make a note. Don't talk about this. Let's just sit here in silence.
Yeah.
But yes, hello. Thank you for having me on. I have frequented your broadcasts over the years. And I'm coming to you live from the West Coast in sunny California, Los Angeles.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about who you are. Give us kind of,
Oh, sure.
Anyone who's listened to the podcast, we've talked about this before, but for anyone who doesn't know, who is your daddy and what does he do?
My dad's a teacher and a coach. He has coached collegiate. No, wait, who am I?
Wait a minute.
I am a writer, director, actor, filmmaker. I currently my career, my bread and butter, how I pay the bills is I write screenplays, teleplays, content for producers internationally, both for film, television, and web. I am a script consultant, a ghost writer, and generally hired as a screenwriter. That is currently my career path for the past 3 years now. I've been doing that professionally and full time without the need of a part-time job. So that's adulting right there, Mom.
Yeah, that's the sign right there. Because even with this business, we were doing a lot of stuff on the side. But then as soon as we're like full time, we're like, guys, we're actually professionals at this now.
Yeah, this is literally how I keep my phone operating and pay my rent. Is I sell screenplays, and and all that facilitates my passions of filmmaking and producing, directing, acting, and stuff that I want to make, my own stuff, short films. Actually, this is quite timely. This would be just this week is the 10-year anniversary of the beginning of my professional filmmaking career, and it's the 9-year anniversary of working with you two, because not 9. It would be 1, 2, 3.
Carry the one.
8, 7, 9, 8, 7. 7 for you guys because the noise was 2013. But it's this weekend is the anniversary of the Madison 48-hour Film Festival, which is where things began. Like, I had certainly done some, what would be YouTube videos before 2010, but 2010 was the first time I wrote a screenplay that got produced for the 48. I worked with Chad for many years beforehand. Ryan, I made dumb short films with you beforehand, but Dangerous Summers in 2010 was the beginning of the path that led me to be able to say I'm a professional screenwriter, professional filmmaker. So we've done 57 short films as a group since 2010. And that doesn't include all the BitLife show stuff that I did for you guys with 1 Minute Rewatch, or the 50 plus that Chad did for you with 1 Minute Gamer. I could bring up a list of the hundreds of screenplays that or commercials and advertisements and YouTube content, Barbie doll shows that I've done. And this is certainly not me. I'm not trying to lean into my laurels here and be like, oh, look at all this stuff I've done.
No, this is the part of the show where we get to be like, tell us how awesome you are. So don't feel bad about that.
Well, in the past 3 years, I've been paid to write over 500 scripts. That is not hyperbole. That is true.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Since Ryan, you had come out to LA 3 summers ago to
was that long ago?
For This Isn't Funny. 18,
yeah.
19.
It seems like just yesterday.
I know, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like the way you rephrased that to I've been paid to write over 500 scripts. I've written 2 scripts, and the others I've just ripped people off. I'm a very good con man.
Yes. Shh, they don't need to know that. That week you came out to help produce that pilot, which is available at youtube.com/redactedmedia. This Isn't Funny is the name of that show. That week, like the week after that, was when I was like, okay, I'm ready to do full-time writing. I quit my part-time job and was like, let's do this. No more halvesies. No more halvesies. Taking away the safety net.
Yeah.
And so from that point on, so the past almost 3 years, I have written over 500 screenplays that I've been paid to write.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? Like that's like the little button or something that just gets you going. And I believe it's just about gumption. There's kind of like you either have talent, gumption or money or something like that. And everyone can have gumption, not everyone can have the other two. And I think, you can get in and get good at anything if you just stick with it long enough. And I feel like that's what I've seen with my successful friends in any of these industries, but specifically, film, and friends who've gone to LA to do that. And some it's taken fewer years, some it's taken longer years, but they stick with it. And they're like, I'm kind of like jobless. I have 2 other jobs, but I try to do this stuff. And then, at some point they're just like, well, now I'm doing this and it's actually working. And it's because they stuck with it through the hard times, like maybe not having money, maybe not having a job, whatever it is, because of the passion, it keeps you engaged in the medium.
Absolutely. I often will say I have a theory that 7 years is the average. Like, and that just specifically if you start seeing an actor pop up in TV shows and movies, you're like, oh, it's that actress again. Oh, there they are again. If you look at their IMDb, I would wager 9 times out of 10, 7 years ago is when they got their first real credit. It seems to be it's very, very often I'm like, oh my God, my 7-year rule worked again. And I think that works across the board in terms of being able to make a living, particularly out here. But I've said this before in speaking with you guys, doing speaking engagements with you guys, that there's the triangle of success of persistence or gumption, talent, and luck, and you only need one side of the triangle to succeed. Like, you can be persistent and lucky without a lick of talent, but somehow you can have a Zack Snyder-esque career. You can be lucky and talented and just get it right out of the gate, or you can be persistent and talented and just never get any luck. But success is definitely a big part of that. Like you said, Ryan, is fortitude, gumption, persistence. Like, you just got to keep at it.
Well, and maybe
you can't keep at it, it wasn't meant for you.
I was gonna say, go. To that point, maybe in my triangles, like, you got to have one, but I would also say that you can, you either have natural talent or you can develop the talent or the skill.
Sure.
There's that 10,000 hours idea of putting in 10,000 hours makes you an expert at something. But I think the reality is, like, you can, I probably can't become a fighter pilot or an astronaut because of my need for glasses, right? I'd probably never play in the NFL. Just not as coordinated or as athletic as I would need to be.
You could be a kicker.
But aside from those things, there's a good chance that with enough hard work, I could do anything. So I think that's kind of that big idea of enough stick with itness, and you can get there. Because, like, John and I experienced that as well. And again, we've probably talked about this. I'm gonna stop saying that. We have talked about all these things, but they're so good, and, like, it's just good to catch up. So this is kind of like the prequel to whatever new stuff we'll talk about today, like PK.
Sure. Sure.
But John and I experienced that as well, where we're doing our business, kind of halvesies, and it's tough because you have multiple allegiances, and certainly for us, it's kind of like God, family, and other pursuits. And in those other pursuits, we had like job A and job B. So when we were able to go full time, it was a huge leap. And for several years early on, maybe the first 3 years, we'd have conversations like bi-weekly, every other week, where it's like, hey, here's kind of where the bank account's at. How much do you want to pay ourselves?
Yeah.
Like, we're paying ourselves less than we were making before, but this is the only way we can keep the business running. And so we made a lot of sacrifices early on, and now we're at a point where, we have a bigger business. We've got about 9 employees. And when COVID hit, we were diversified enough with the work that we were doing that even with the lockdown and shoots being pushed, we had enough pre-production work to do. We had enough web and digital work to do, and then post-production to keep everyone busy for several months during this slowdown, so that when everything started reopening and businesses started wanting to do new marketing and do video, and we felt a little bit more safe, at least, to do video, we were able to make it that far, which is a far cry from those early years. And early years is like, it's like 7 years ago, or 10 years ago, when we're like, we're not making payroll, so how much do we need to pay your mortgage? Because I think John and I both have owned houses for 10 years or more.
So adult.
We adult real hard.
Yeah. I think persistence is an important thing. You could say persistence, you could say commitment, would be another angle at that, is just sticking with something. When they talk about like those statistics of like businesses that make it, it's like whatever percentage fail in the first year, and then there's some other percentage about businesses that stick around once they've been around for 5 years or something like that.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to go look these stats up.
Yeah, I think it's like
no, these sound completely accurate.
No, Continue. it's like 80% of businesses fail in the first year or something like that.
Yeah.
But sticking around long enough for the things you set in motion to come back around and lead to the next project or the next gig or relationship or whatever. How long does it take to build a relationship? Even on a
relationship that lasts.
A relationship that lasts.
Certainly.
So that's part of it is just sticking with something long enough to build the things that are working, and then you've also got to like be with it long enough to see what things fail and then adapt and change from there. And then you've got to have some way to make it through, that early period.
Sure.
Whether you're dumping money into a business and trying to like last long enough to get the thing kicked off before you run out, or if you've got a situation personally, I mean, it comes down to money a lot, but if you're living somewhere or whatever, and you've got this much length of the parents or the in-laws patience before you're out, and you need to make it by then.
Sounds very specific. This is very
Oh my gosh, I hope my kids, like, once they graduate and can get a full-time job, I hope they live with me for like 2 years. And it's it's a very modern thing. It's like a millennial and younger thing to live with your parents after. But like, I have so many friends who did that and had worked several years, and they came out and they bought a house with half cash down.
Wow.
They were able to do stuff like that, and it's just a different cultural kind of idea, and maybe a return maybe to more familial based stuff. But like, I would love for them to live with us for a couple of years and just save 80% of their salary and be able to invest, because then they feel a lot more free to go and fail, because that we hear that all the time, like fail fast and the importance of that. But that's something that, and I'm trying to figure out a way to say this that doesn't sound stupid, like I'm very afraid of failure and like creating art that people that it doesn't resonate with them or they don't like. And I'm certainly not an artist for art's sake. I love to create things that move people and change hearts, and speak to people. So for me, I get like locked up because I'm like, I can't take any steps forward. People are going to hate this. I feel like a lot of creatives have that experience. And one thing I admire about you is like, you just get out there and do stuff. Like I'm almost a little jealous as well, because I'm always hearing like, oh yeah, now you're working on a new script and a new script and a new script. And I'm like, I've been working on one script for 5 years, Well, we have different talents, but like, I'm always encouraged by your just get out there and do stuff no matter what kind of mentality.
I'm flattered to, thank you. I appreciate that compliments. And it's certainly it's one of my number one rules is to finish. I come from a running background. I've talked about my philosophy of running to anyone who will hear me talk about it, but how I pursue my creative endeavors is very much like a runner, and I will work out and I will do small things so that I'm prepared for the big things. And we can certainly talk about two very big things of recent here today on this conversation. But the desire to create, I certainly get self-conscious all the time. I just worked on something, and a makeup artist was like taking care of me, like getting me ready for camera, and I was like, just make sure I will be so self-conscious. I just want. And she's like, wow, you fake confidence really well. I'm like, I know, don't tell anyone, okay? Because it's that runner mentality of like, when the starting pistol goes off, you got to run. You can't just stand still. So I am certainly all about finishing and learning from it and being proud of it and having fun with it. Those are like the 4 edicts that I try to live by in everything I create. Whether it's something that I pursued that I wanted to do, or something that I was hired to do, or something that I was asked to do. Ultimately, if I start something, I want to finish it, because it's an opportunity to create, and that's what I think we all of us want to do, is to, whether people are going to like it or not, create.
That reminds me of a thing a guy asked us one time. A client asked us, we were just hanging out after working on something, and he had asked, in your career, do you guys strive for that one piece that is like your signature piece that you're known for? or do you strive for many, many things or whatever? And you know, I'm not a great, or I can't think of the examples at the moment, but we kind of know different movies or different works that are like that's like the thing, and it got really popular, but then you can't name a lot. Can't name a lot of other
like
things.
Yeah, I hear you. Something like, say, like Donnie Darko. That's the definitive film of I totally blanked on the creator's name. He's made other movies since, but yeah. But that's the example of like, well, that defines his entire career and anything he's created after the fact. Like, I mean, every ad you see is like M. Night Shyamalan from The Sixth Sense. Like, still riding that one out, aren't you?
So there's something that, I mean, now granted, like those things got done eventually, but I think that there are people sometimes that are pursuing that, and so they're never completing the thing like you're talking about. Whereas like just get done with the thing. Like you don't know if the script that you're working on right now that you think is the most amazing thing ever is going to be that when you get it out in the world. And so getting it done and then moving on to the next thing is like a great way to just, you know, you got to keep pursuing it. Like maybe that thing will be that, but you know, if it never does get done, you know, like
the advice I give for writing, if anyone wants to hear my advice, I'm certainly no expert, but it's
just 500 scripts in a couple of years. You know, no big deal.
Well, you don't know if they're any good is the thing. Just because I wrote 500.
That's true.
But it's don't edit as you go. Finish the first draft, because then you can fix it in its entirety. Getting to the finish line, to keep using my running metaphor, is or analogy, whatever it is. I'm a writer. Finishing it in its entirety allows you to fix whatever needs fixing. So certainly getting to the finish line, I can segue us into something to talk about in terms of finishing something that we've put a lot of attention and time into. And have completed it, but are still taking the time to make it as good as we know it can be. So Ryan, if you want to ride that segue.
Yeah. So, and this gets a little bit back to our story. Like you and I, so this talk is called Tinseltown and Fantasy Puppet Musicals. Because that's a lot of, and maybe that can be a memoir at some point, but that's a lot of just our life over the last 7 to, let's see, how old was I when I started at Tinseltown? Like 16 or 17, you know, 7
15,
to 18
20 years. Yeah,
right. So TC and I grew up in the same town, went to the same school. Did you graduate in 2000 or 01?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I'm in your sister's class. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you were 2 years older than me. But you know, you were kind of one of those drama guys that like us younger nerdy guys looked up to and were like, ooh, let's be like that person. You know?
No.
And I think, let's see, I don't know when you started at Tinseltown, but I feel like for me, I outside of like jobs with my family, I think Tinseltown was my first job. And to be clear, Tinseltown is a movie theater,
not a Christmas store.
Not a Christmas store, which my wife thought it was a Christmas store for 5 years of our marriage. I don't know. And she thought you and I worked at a Christmas store together year round, which is awesome.
That's so great.
But it's a movie theater. Which,
yeah.
For those who don't know what movie theaters are, because do they exist anymore? We used to go places and sit with lots of people to watch movies. I actually remember one time, I don't remember who it was, but it was a big movie, and I was in the crowd. I had gotten a ticket to a premiere, and you know, you come in, and this is back in the day when you were a plebeian and you had to like get there first and sit in the middle and sit where you wanted. Well, it was a sold out theater, so we actually had to like try to condense areas to get people to fit in, and the person like made everyone scoot over, and like people lost their minds. So this is the hard life that we used to live when we went to movie theaters.
The before times.
We worked there together, and I think we produced a couple things there. And actually, you've worked with Dave Geisler as well. He and I, and some other people worked on something that we actually filmed at Tinseltown, again, probably almost 20 years ago, which I hope we can find. So all of us have been working together, and playing together for so long and just being nerdy together. And then you're right. What was it? 7 years ago.
Yep.
We got connected with a mutual friend of ours who was doing stuff in Madison, and I can't remember how we got connected, but I think I might have seen your name, and I reached out and I was like, TC? And that was the start of like us getting connected with the group in Madison that you were doing films with, and we worked on The Noise with you. So that kind of started, kind of rekindled our filmmaking love story.
Yeah.
About 7 years ago. And basically after that 148, we jumped in and started helping out with a momentous task you were working on, a puppet fantasy musical that you had written. Yeah, feature. Yeah. That's a good point. That you had written and done as a play and had turned into a screenplay. And we got in on the ground floor on that to help out and worked pretty solidly on it for 6 years. And then we got to the really difficult part, and, everything kind of, people didn't have the time that we needed to finish the effects. And that's what it was. The film is shot. You have all the audio. That's all done. We just needed the effects. And we probably put in, I don't know, 40 to 100 hours between 4 or 5 of us. And that was just the tip of the iceberg. So it got really tough and things slowed down. But now with the COVID slowdown, our business partner Scott was like, hey, aren't we like almost done with a movie? And John and I were like, oh my gosh, like, can we edit? Can we pay people to edit? So
that was the time.
Yeah. So I reached out to you and I was like, hey, I think we can get this finished. I think we can do the effects. And, I have a team of 4 people or 5 people that can work on this, and we'll put our business behind it and our time behind it to get it done, because we think it's a really good endeavor.
I pushed him, actually. I said,
hey. Did you push Scott?
Yeah. I was like,
nice.
Hey, I've been thinking about that when I was sitting around at home here in my basement.
Awesome.
I was like, I think we should do this. We can get this done. If we need to stuff in the post-production, like this is the opportunity in front of us.
It's amazing. I honestly, the timing on it couldn't have been better written in terms of our story, because the movie was complete. The edit was complete. We had finished it, and it really was a matter of like the additional post-production, having an edit lock, music lock, audio lock. Like it came down to the visual effects and the color and the final sound mix. But the movie was done, and I had been coping, going through the stages of grief of like accepting that this is the state the movie was going to be in. And as soon as I was like the final like acceptance of like this the zen moment of like, okay, the movie exists for the people who donated to it, and I've gotten great feedback from 5-year-olds, which is definitely the target demographic. And I was like, okay. And not 1 hour later, Ryan messages me, hey, we're gonna finish the visual effects on the movie. And I'm like, ah! It was, I laughed. I was so amused by just the timing of it. Like, it felt very much like just like burying it and being like putting the flower on the headstone and the hand shooting out like, no!
Yeah.
Hand just shooting out of the ground like, we're not done yet.
That's the interesting
I should
visual. I was gonna say, it's like the bird that you let go. It's like if you love a bird and you let it go and it comes back, whereas TC's like, it came crawling out of a grave.
You're like
mixed metaphors.
No, it's like it's a bird. You're like, well, I can't heal you anymore. This is as much as I can do. Go. And then somebody walks up and like, no, we can fix that. She's like, oh, come back here.
Get back, bird. Get back. Yeah. So it's very exciting.
I was gonna say I should probably take screenshots of the texts between us because I was like, hey, we're thinking of doing this. What do you think? And you're like, oh my gosh, that would be amazing. I like just submitted this for release or whatever, which we'll update. But
of course, it was the closed captioning was like the final thing that I needed to have like professionally done. Hired someone to finish it. Finally got the closed captioning for the hearing impaired approved, and then you messaged me and I'm like, let's do this.
Life is funny. Yeah. So I do have the whole edit lock here, but maybe let's pull something up that looks the best.
Certainly it's the whole new Baron scene with the trunk. I think that's the if you hadn't thought of a spot yet, that section is ultimately at this stage the most complete, which I'm happy to. So while you're bringing that up, I'll just mention you had said this was a stage show. It was a live-action human being stage musical that I produced, wrote, directed, and produced at the fantastic Malthouse Theater in Burlington, Wisconsin. It's a community theater that I came up in through college and beyond. It's an amazing theater. It's a little 100-seat theater, but it's one of the best community theater communities that I've ever been involved with. So when I wrote Princess Knight, my intention was always to take it there. And we did a 13-show run, all original cast, all recordings. It was an incredible experience. And when at the time our film group was considering, hey, we've done all these shorts, maybe we're ready for a feature. And the idea was posited of, what about with puppets? Then we don't have to rely on actors. We learned so much.
Oh,
we could have a whole we could do a whole thing just on.
We should slap our original selves.
But that's and I'm happy to keep talking about Princess Knight. But everything learned doing this, as well as all the shorts we've done and all the projects we've done, certainly prepared me and us for bigger and better projects, including the pilot, This Isn't Funny, which I mentioned earlier. We were able to accomplish that as successfully as we did because of the Princess Knight and the 48s and all the shorts we did. It's that workout mentality, so we're ready for the marathon.
Although we did learn a lot, about doing stuff with puppets, I still think I think back to some of those shoots though where we had like not enough people, and not it really, even though it turned into a huge learning experience and hassle in a lot of instances, there are a lot of those shoot days where we can only pull together a hodgepodge of people, and they weren't necessarily the same people from before. So, I mean, it really did work the way that we had assumed or hoped it would in getting, okay, I've got 5 people. They're not the main actors, but they can be those actors for the scene, which was pre-recorded.
Right. Yeah. We approached this like an animated film. All the sound audio was done first. All the dialogue was done first. So then we could just, ideally, anyone could put the puppet on and perform to the scratch track. So the movie has existed in its audio form, completed, for 7 years. and that's what we filmed too. So yeah, the intention, the idea of, we're going to shoot this scene which has 5 characters in it with 3 people, and we will make it work. There could, if we had a documentary behind the scenes crew every step of the way, there'd be a whole second movie about how the hell did they make this thing?
Yeah.
Don't worry, we'll do that too. Yeah, so if you can see where, let's see, I don't know if you can send me if you know time code by chance.
Oh,
Um,
sure.
we've got a little bit of the troll here, voiced
Mhm.
and largely performed by an editor at Backflip that you may know, Jeffrey Bell.
Jeff Bell.
Um,
I may have created the troll, but Jeff brought the troll to life
he
in
embodied it.
every
Yeah,
sense of the way. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So maybe talk us like where I don't remember
Oh, well, I
where the
see you got the
Baron
troll up here.
scene is.
So,
Yeah.
if it would be, it'd be before this. Wait. Are you? Wait. Is this? This is not the troll bridge scene. This is before the troll bridge scene. So
No,
you're
this
gonna
is
want to
right
go
after
ahead.
the intro scene.
Yeah. Okay. So you'd want to go like 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes further into the film. Um, I've watched this thing ad nauseum, so I can pinpoint this. Maybe not time code off the top of my head, but
Yeah.
certainly I could tell you. Oh, there it is. That's the scene. No, wait. That is the whole new Baron scene. So you're gonna want to go another like 15 minutes forward.
All right.
That's Vesper, one of the original cast members of the stage show, Candace Hassler, who played the original witch on stage, voicing Vesper for the movie as well. Honestly, I forget this sometimes. Our three original main female cast members from the stage show, Kim Casey, Rachel Oldenburg, and Candace, all reprised their characters in puppet form. So Scarlet, Queen Rosepetal, and Vesper.
Before or after Sandstone's castle?
After.
Okay, right after.
So after Sandstone, then there's the kidnapping scene, and then after the kidnapping scene is where the whole new Baron scene begins.
So this
after
is kidnapping.
This is kidnapping.
Yeah, and you see green screen. So there's 644 comments. This is actually in Frame.io, a tool we use to comment and mark and feedback and things like that. 644 comments that he went through, and he's like, green screen, puppet, puppeteer.
Oh my gosh,
magic.
that's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, good on him. I had made a list at some point of all the visual effects needed. There it is. That's the scene right there. I went through and listed at least where visual effects like magic would need to go.
The main ones, yeah.
Yeah. So like if you literally start right there, that's a line we quote all the time. I agree, though not with the thud butt part.
Oh my gosh. This is a contentious time on set when we were trying to get the thud bud part right. and to my mind, it was always like, this is how it's being performed, but not with the thud bud part. And I was like, there's an extra open. I don't actually remember where we landed on this.
Oh my god. What an incredible thing. Like to constantly go back and reference, our point of reference was always the Muppets, to look at how they do things, and to have any sort of disagreement with someone on set saying like, oh, it's not matching the audio identically. It would always be, well, hold on a minute, let's look at Kermit. So it doesn't literally, you can't lip sync something that doesn't have lips. You just have to do it as closely as possible.
Right. Yeah, so let's see. I might be able to do audio if I do it like this.
Let's find out. So this is that's the therapist right there, talking to the Baron von Briarthorn right there, and they have recently kidnapped who they think is a prince. Who's actually the poor young hero in disguise. I should say the would-be hero in disguise.
Also, it's like a 10 gig file, so it's just like super janky apparently, at least online.
There's the trunk. Oh my gosh, we at one point had Julia Smith and Aaron Phipps in that trunk. Who's inside the thing? Do you remember that?
Yeah, oh my gosh. Yeah, there was an inappropriate joke about that.
There's Chester right there. This was pretty early. We shot all the Baron stuff first, all the Baron Castle stuff first, and certainly the first learning curve we had here was in your original studio house, because this was filmed in your original studio. So like what you see in terms of like the wall there, that's pretty much the height of your studio. Like
Right.
we had our puppeteers flat on their backs to perform these things because there was no, like Henson, they get to stand. They get to stand. Their set is raised 5 feet off the ground, 4 or 5 feet off the ground. Nope, not us. Just flat. Everyone's, and it was always like, can the puppeteers get lower, but the puppets get higher, please? So can you just dislocate your shoulder and reach up, get the puppet up?
Yeah, that was a great joke of like, if you're comfortable, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, I it definitely became the mantra all the way to the end, because the last stuff we filmed, which came with a rewrite, was the Troll and Lily stuff, which is a Princess Bride homage. All the way to the end, we were the mantra. If you're comfortable, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Which is really, really rude to say to those poor puppeteers who we'd be working for hours with their shoulders just like the amount of physical strain our puppeteers went through.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I'm so appreciative because occasionally
and they were so
I get
patient.
Yeah. Jeff and Jessica, Dan, Candace, Kim, Aaron, Kim, Ken, Shelling, all our main puppeteers just went through the ringer in terms of and with a smile on their faces, at least when I could see them.
Yeah. Well, and you saw, when Vesper was coming out, you saw like the black body. We also had movement. So we had furniture dollies, and we're like, okay, someone's going to push you. You have to half crouch and
pull you by a rope.
This will be our director track or whatever, where we can pause and talk about stuff. But that was such a learning thing, like right away. And we had built like you had said, we had built the sets. Was it 6 inches or was it less? Like, I feel like
it originally we put them on the ground and we were like, oh, right, we can't. Okay, we got to lift these bad boys up. So I think we got at least maybe a foot. I think we got a foot off the ground.
Yeah, originally it was really hard, and we're like, okay, we're always telephoto, or we have to get really, really close. And I'm amazed to look back at some of this early stuff, and I'm like, this stuff kind of works,
But how did we do this? Yeah.
What I think is really cool, what I was really proud of, is our ability to use what was like 6 flats, 8 flats.
Yes, that's right.
And make this scene, and it's just I mean, anyone who's been filmmaking for a while kind of knows it, but like, if you're new to filmmaking or if you haven't done much of it, that whole concept of like, this space doesn't have to actually exist in real life. It's all about shots. When I look this direction, what would I be seeing? When I look this direction, what would I be seeing? And then using our limited resources to make that hallway.
So like we had to move the walls around, because you're right, there was only 6 pieces that we had to play with.
These are the same. These are the same flats on both sides. Basically.
Well, and that was so much fun to figure out, okay, how do we shoot this out? And it was a learning process for me and TC, and well, just the whole team. We'd come into it, and I think at first you were like, okay, like, what are our angles or whatnot? And I might have some ghostly visitors pretty soon. But, we came into it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't even have a good sense of how people are moving around. So very quickly, hi, Maggie. Oh, she took and stole my ring this morning, but now she gave it back. Thank you, Maggie.
Oh, thanks, Maggie. We started making maps. We started making entire scenes, like in a top down, and we would place the characters, and I would tell you. So you DP, me director. I'd be like, okay, here's how I want to block the scene. Character, here's Chester, and they're gonna move, and I'd create like movement lines. So basically like dance charts, and we'd be like, okay, well, we can film all of our A angle this way, and then move the whole set to this side and shoot all of our B angle this way. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Ooh. This is the first visual effects shot that we did here.
Yeah. And working together on a project for so many years, like, I feel like if we can get money to do the Princess Knight 2, after we finish this, we'll come into this so ready. We won't have set extensions that we need to do. We'll have figured out. I think there's one scene where we got twisted around a little bit in how we shot, because again, we have 6 flats, so you're seeing all the flats in this scene or this shot, and then when we look over, these are all the flats in a different shot. So again, we had to figure out, like TC was saying, that map. But if we have a budget, it makes it a little more simple if we can have 12 flats.
Just actually make a set of a castle instead of
just have a real set. Yeah.
But I mean, it's kind of like one of those inspiring stories too for like indie or low budget filmmakers. Like, do you need to be able to build a castle? No. You just need enough little, and you have to like have it in your mind's eye, and then every shot you just need to make, okay, well, what would that shot be looking at, and then figure that out. In this case, we had these awesome set pieces from an artist, but like, if you just had a little corner of a room, you could just keep redecorating that thing and shooting it from the angles that you would need to see.
Right.
French angle, I think, is the term for that.
We also learned something about coverage too, because I think early on we're like, film everything from every angle. And then after a little bit of that, we're like, oh my gosh, this is untenable. So let's get more specific. And kind of typically it's like start a scene further out and get closer in. I think there's some exceptions to that, so specific exceptions, but I think that helped us a lot too, because the quantity of footage that we filmed starting off is less than when we finished, because we got a lot more specific. But the file size probably stayed the same, because over 7 years we continually upgraded our cameras as well. So
yes, like
the very first scene. No, you
puppeteering the entire chest.
Yes, that's one of my favorite bits, like the chest talks, like a lot of cartoon humor in this. But like I see this stuff early on, and you can already see the talents of our puppeteers, the how nice the set looks, how well you lit it, how well you shot it. Like the learning curve doesn't look as big as it was when you see all the footage together. It seems like, oh, okay, I guess you got a little better here and there. It's like, no, we figured out. Like, honestly, the last stuff we filmed, we got to do nearly as Henson as possible, which is we were running live audio for the first time with the very last things we shot with Jeff and Jessica.
That's right.
Voicing their characters.
That's right. Yeah. It was and there's a roughed in magic shot. It's fun to see that. And actually I was looking at some of that footage of that first shot, and I was like, ooh, so many more pixels in here. But honestly, when somebody watches it, they're not going to experience that. They're going to see these characters, they're going to feel the characters, and hopefully they love hand right there. They're going to love and enjoy it because of the love and care that went into producing it.
Yeah. Like I said, we released this to the people who donated to the film, so our Kickstarters who helped fund this film. We did release this complete film to them, and the greatest thing I heard was Luke Kramer, who voices Prince Sandstone and has worked with us for many years. His 5-year-old watched it, and she was engaged the whole time. She was asked, she knew all the characters' names. She was talking about the next day. I'm like, that's all I needed. To know that awesome. we captured the imagination of one little girl who enjoyed it every step of the way. Just like, yes, that's a victory. We did it, guys.
I want to do a little behind the scenes here real quick. Sorry, I'm trying to go back.
Oh, that's fine.
So we've got these walls, but this is actually a pillar. So we laid a pillar down to hide the fact that the wall ends right there.
Oh, that's I did not remember that. That's a great trick. Yeah, we little how do we cover that? Lay a pillar down, no one will know.
Yeah, exactly. So it's that guerrilla filmmaking that our 48s have taught us how to do, and you just do, when you're on a bigger production. It's the same stuff, just, different people.
And that's no different than the more like the stuff we do now, like the commercials you guys shoot, or the like the other films we've made. The film I just worked on a film where we had little things like that, where it's like, okay, that's a problem, we need to fix it ASAP so that we can keep working. We don't have a props department, a handyman, a carpenter. We just have to like, what's the duct tape solution here that still looked good, without being lazy but being efficient.
Well, and that's what we do as filmmakers, is we problem solve, right? At all levels. Like the whole first scene is a problem solve on this film, and honestly, I think that first scene is amazing. That new first scene that we filmed at the end of the film, right?
The newer, like the opening of this movie. Yeah, like that was incredible. Obviously, people we're speaking in vague terms here because people haven't seen the film, but
and I don't want to give it away. Yeah,
certainly, but a credit to Jessica Swenson, who was basically the lead on our art department in terms of set deck, who did an incredible job. We could certainly and will do a conversation about this film in its entirety in another way, shape, or form. You got a sandstone green screen action going on here.
I know, we're losing his face.
A little bit.
This was shot. My God, how did we do this? We did it in the autumn on one side. No, we shot. Okay, so we had the giant green screen wrapped around the bridge.
Yeah, we shot the plates of the different seasons because it's not that far from our studio. So I ran out and got the autumn scene on one side and the summer on the other side. And then when we actually shot it, the whole thing, big green screen hanging off a bridge.
Yeah. And maybe we can get the wide here. Oh, that's a cool fire effect. I never saw that.
You got some fire effect there, yeah.
Yeah, that worked really well. That green screen, because the evil land is all decrepit and dying, whereas the good side of the bridge is growing and green. Little transition there. By the way, huge shout out to the artists who did the walls and the puppets. There you go.
Oh, sure. Kathy Smith was our puppet. I designed them and she built them. Oh, yeah, there's the shot right there. And she built them based on my artist's renderings. And, yeah, she did an incredible job out of Milwaukee. Had never built puppets before. Like, she's a costume designer out of Milwaukee. And she just did an incredible job. Those puppets, that was a little something that we learned, was like, these puppets are wearing actual costumes, so they're significantly heavier than they probably should be.
Like real stage costumes.
Exactly, yeah. And most of the main cast, if not all, pretty much all the puppets are designed after a real person, a real someone. Oftentimes, at least half the main 12 main characters are designed after the original stage performer. So John Kobernick was our original Chester in the stage show, so I designed Chester the puppet after him. And Kim Casey, who was our original Scarlet, the Scarlet puppet is designed after her. And then little like the original Baron was Noel. And then a high school did a performance, 2 performances of The Princess Knight, and the Baron design is a sort of a mashup of those 2 original Barons, the Dr. Horrible goggles being a nice touch added by the high school.
That's awesome. Yeah, Luke, if you're watching, that's another reference to Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog. Go see it. It's amazing.
Go see it.
And anyone else who's out there, it's amazing.
Funny enough, Dr. Horrible came about during the writer's strike, which entertainment-wise was not dissimilar to the current state of entertainment in terms of TV shows and movies not being able to film or make anything.
Yeah.
Certainly the circumstances were a hell of a lot different. But Dr. Horrible came about because the Writers Guild couldn't write anything new. So Joss Whedon had improvised and created a web show with his friends that became a cult classic.
Well, and that might be a good segue to the other project that you just recently wrapped on.
Yes.
The feature film you shot in 9 days?
9 days. So out here in LA, we a producer I've been working with since last year, Danny Scott. She approached me early in the year. Well, first she came and said, "We're going to make 12 projects in 12 months." And I said, "I'm in. What do you want to do?" And we shot 4 short films before COVID hit and lockdown began. But she had it in her head that she wanted to do a feature. So she approached me as the quarantine was just starting if I had a film that took place in a singular location. And I had a play that all took place in an apartment. So I let her read that, and she said, "Yes, let's adapt this to a film." Added some other locations for flashbacks and other scenes or whatnot. And the ball got rolling on it. And just for between July 8th and July 18th, we shot 90 pages of a feature film. And with a crew of 15, cast and crew total of 15. We never had more than that. And it was difficult, as you could imagine, but all the tools that we've developed with all the short films we've done with the Princess Knights, roping in John Klein and Chad Halverson from Wisconsin, we were able to pull it off. We did about. There's a little kid who's very excited right now about hearing about this.
Don't worry, they're not on the live stream. Only you can hear them.
Okay. We were able to pull this off with the determination and dedication of our ragtag cast and crew, while following all of the compliance regulations that LA has put in place, that the unions have put in place. So masks on all our crew and testing throughout the production, hand sanitizers, 2 stations. It was not easy, but boy, was it fun. And it was. I'm sure you guys have questions, but there's the long and short of it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that has made things so challenging. Like filmmaking is challenging enough. I think people who are not in it just don't understand what goes into it, the physicality of it. And then so you've got your physical exhaustion, you've got your mental exhaustion from like
emotional exhaustion
in that mode all day long. It's like building a house, but things are constantly changing, as you're doing it. And, everybody's like looking to you, when you're in your directing mode, looking to you for every little moment or checking in on things. So then to add the element of being distant, putting masks on, having to stop every single few minutes to like add this other thing into it is like, very challenging, massive curveball, because you've got to have really good communication throughout. And like, I think everybody's finding this out or realizing this, but like, even though you can still hear, like, you're losing communication with this thing on,
Yeah. And it didn't help that we got to film in an empty apartment that our producer Danny was able to art deck that. It's incredible. You would never guess that apartment didn't exist because of how well it was designed to film in there. And it's a western facing wall, so when it came around 3:00 in the afternoon, the sun is just beating down on it. It's like, all right, cut off all the fans. Let's cut off the one little air conditioning unit we have. Let's get 12 people in here and make sure all the crew is breathing their hot breath back in their own faces with their masks on. And action. Like we had more than one occasion of just beads of sweat coming down an actor's face. We were like, let's cut for blotting, please. There we go. Good. There we go. So major props to the cast and the crew, of course, for suffering through the heat, all for the greater good of seeing this movie made.
That's a good point. Like, and maybe we got to be switching our masks more, but when you're on set, you're moving stuff around, you're getting hot, you're sweating into your mask. We should probably change those for security purposes. But Andrew, one of our editors, he's actually working on a music video coming up. But he asked, when filming a lot of content in a day, how important is pre-production versus improvising on set? And I think this is a really good question for you, because you shot like 10 pages a day, which is like more than TV.
It is. The pre-production on this was critical. The amount of pre-production, again, I'm just going to keep giving props to Danny for producing the hell out of this thing. The amount of pre-production on this was critical. And it was really great, the rarity that it is. And you fellas know this, working with the type of content you create. You don't get rehearsals. For this feature, we were able to do rehearsals, which starts the directing process like a lot sooner, to getting the actors in the zone they need to be in, and being able to prepare the memorization, which our cast came fully memorized, and already having rehearsed with them they understand.
Oh my gosh, what is that like?
Yeah, it brought me back to my theater roots, to be able to be like, wow, this is what it's like to get together for a few hours in an afternoon and dissect a scene to every little word. That really helped with performance from a production point of view, to have the set fully complete before day one, with, of course, making little adjustments along the way. Having a sense of, I had many conversations with our DP, John Klein, in discussing, this is the type of camera work we're going to do, this is the type of coverage we're going to do, and having a full shot list realized for the entire film before we ever shot one frame, to go, this is every scene we're doing, this is how I want to cover it. And then going in with that in mind, having the rehearsals, having the conversation with our DP, that those pre-production conversations were critical in us being able to film what we filmed in the time we filmed it. Because we were also filming 12 hours or less every day. Like we never wanted to, we got over 12 hours once, but and we took one day off in the middle, but every day we were shooting up to 12 hours. And to keep that momentum, if we were sitting there hemming and hawing like, okay, well, what's next? No, having a full schedule worked out, having the shot list worked out, being malleable to be able to shift midstream with an understanding of, we need to keep the momentum going, is important. But having all of that worked out beforehand made this far more successful than it probably would have been if we were like, okay, so what are we doing next? Like, no, that would never have flown.
Yeah, I think too, when you do all that pre-production, and we try to do this on commercial work, it just gets you to a place where you can problem solve in a better way, because you're not problem solving everything, you're problem solving something very specific. And like the last commercial we were on, we had a very specific shot list, and the technology wasn't working, and so we had to wait on this and that. And luckily we had two opening shots, and one was an extra one, and we're like, okay, well, this is taking us longer, let's cut out that extra opening shot, because we had thought about it, pre-planned it. But you still, even if you draw like, okay, this is the exact shot, when you get on set, you're like, okay, well, that's a little different and this is different. So you still problem solve at that point, but it's narrower things to problem solve. And I think that just helps the overall vision stay closer, because you're not changing a lot on the day of, you're changing very small things.
Exactly. Talking to John as a DP, director to DP, and saying like, this is the type of camera work we are going to do. I don't want whip pans, I don't want tilts, I want a lot of lateral moves and whatnot. Planning that without saying, but here's the exact shot we're going to get. made it easy, because what we went into this knowing that about 80%, 75-80% of the film all takes place in one apartment. We broke up the scenes in like where they take place, at the dinner table, at the couch, at the door, at the window. I let John know right up front. I'm like, okay, every time we move a location in the apartment, we are going to do completely different camera setups. Because if this was a sitcom, if you think of sitcoms, you have the wide of the living room, and then you do the close-up and the close-up, and sitcom camera, multicam, just shoots the same setup for a wide, for no matter what the scene may be. In order to curb that discussion before we started, was when we start a new scene, we need a completely new wide. We will not repeat the same wide shot, same camera placement we did last time. And knowing that we were going to do that every time we shifted in the room, we were constantly calculating, okay, great. This is how we're going to block this scene. This is where the new wide shot will be. And luckily, another thing that really, really helped was we shot nearly chronologically, so that the actors never had to figure out where they were in their arc. We never had to figure out where we were in the time of day that the movie takes place. That was really helpful too. Like, that was setting that schedule from the get-go of like, if we can shoot the first 30 pages in order, we are set. It's a more or less that's what it came down to. I know that initially our producer was like, can we do this in less time? And our DP was like, can we do it in more time? And being able to put on my director hat and my producer hat and my editor brain, like, to be able to think at it from different points, it was like, okay, we can find the sweet spot of what we know we're capable of. So it was 9 days, but if we have a day off in the middle, that should give us enough little bit of recovery we need, and to be able to have at least a 12-hour turnaround. So like, everyone was able to get a full night's sleep. Well, not me, but not our producer, not our DP, but like the actors and the makeup artist and the sound guy, like, were able to go home, relax, sleep for 8 hours, wake up, come to set the next day. 9, as hardcore as that is, to be able to say we're shooting 10 pages a day, the rough around the edges indie film crew style that we make our stuff in, while still trying to make it look as professional as possible, it just felt like the sweet spot. And we built in a buffer of, if we fall behind, we got a 10th day we can draw from, and we didn't need to use it. Yeah.
I was muted. Sorry. That's amazing, because that doesn't ever happen.
No, I drew heavily from, sorry to keep referencing it, but I drew heavily from This Isn't Funny, like how we filmed that, because I over prepared and over psyched you and the rest of the crew out by saying, this is going to be like our 48-hour film festivals, but for 5 days instead of 2. Just mentally prepare for that. And by over preparing, I can remember us eating burgers one night and you going, this is, you psyched us out for no reason. I'm sleeping 8 hours. I'm getting 3 meals a day. This is great.
Yeah, that's completely different than the 48, but I think you're right on with that mentality. And I'm curious too, like, when we can do, a 15-day or 20-day shoot, how do we keep that attitude, that energy, so that, we can have a 12-hour or less day, and then hey, you could have an hour to yourself, and then sleep, and then wake up, and then come back and film, because I think that's a more repeatable process, and something that's probably just more healthy for everyone's mental,
Oh, sure,
capacity.
There's
it's funny, because I mean, I even think about that on our smaller 1 and 2 day shoots, because we've done these 48s and we've done these intense, projects. And I think that's one of the things that I see when we have like new younger people or production assistants, things like that. that's the learning curve for them, is like let's keep going. We gotta this is just like, we're gonna go through the end of this. No one's gonna stop part of the way through, or what, like pushing through those like lulls, in energy. Because I'm thinking in that mindset, I'm like, when this is done, you can collapse when we're done with the day.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, but yeah, doing that for a longer period of time, you've got to have some balance in there. Similar mindset, but it's got to be something that people can stick with for the span of the project.
Yeah, it's by going so hard so quickly, it mentally preparing ourselves for that from the get-go was good. But once we got through day one, it was like, okay, this is what we're doing. There were moments we lost momentum on one of the days because we had lunch too early, and the heat did not help at all. But gratefully, everyone who was involved wanted so badly to be there and to make the best possible thing. There weren't, and that's something I find the difference between indie filmmaking and Midwestern filmmaking versus a lot of what it will be more Hollywood professional productions out here, is the presence, being present and showing up and wanting to be on set, and not doing it because it's a paycheck, not doing it because, well, I'm a gaffer, this is my job. Like genuinely, everyone, the 15 people we had involved on Sunset is the title of the film, genuinely wanted to be here, even when it was hard, even when we were sweating, even when we were tired, even when the day, like, we had to go a little longer than expected. Everyone came to play, and that's critical. I keep saying what's critical about it. It's like so important to have the desire to do it. And right. Yeah, it'll definitely be better in the future when we can do something in 30 days instead of 9.
Well, and I feel like you can feel that, and that's what I, it's kind of what I sell, how I sell our art. But that's what I think about creative in general, is that, we're doing some of this for a business, but we're doing it because we love it. And I think you can see work that people do out of love, as opposed to just phoning it in and, doing it for a paycheck. And that's also why I'm a little scared. Like, if someone, or when someone comes and says, hey, I want you to do a movie and I've got $5 million for you, be like, oh my gosh. Well, let's actually say we have 500,000. And then let's just go from there, because it's kind of like the indie. We've talked about this before. I said I wouldn't say that, but I'm gonna say it. The indie director, the indie breakout of like, oh my gosh, have you seen that film? Let's give them $100 million to do the next Marvel film, and then you're kind of like, I guess it's a blockbuster, but they, you get into a realm that you're not comfortable with, and there's so much industry in there, and certainly people who are in this industry, I have to believe that at some point they loved it, or they still love it, and maybe that's part of what we can do as kind of our indie roots, is like, hey, even when we are working on these bigger productions and more successful things, maybe we can pull that out of people to get them excited to come tomorrow. You're going to get a paycheck, but what do you think? How can we do this better? Get more buy-in from people. Because I feel like maybe that's a big difference between indie stuff and just higher budget, is that when you're indie, when you have 15 people, including cast, you have a problem, and hey, the grip might have an idea, and you can collaborate on that.
It's a... To go back to one of the original conversations we had on Working Title, the very first episode, and talking about Peter Jackson and the Lord of the Rings. That's a massive film, but it's the biggest student film of all time. Because of that, does The Grip have an answer? Does Elijah Wood have an answer? Like, it's that collaborative mentality. To look from the stage show of Princess Night to the puppets to all the way to Sunset, which we just finished, the the collaborative process is so important. Everyone has a voice. We all want to make this movie. So it's not, sticking too many cooks in the kitchen, but it's being willing to listen to ideas, because there are going to be solutions, especially in a ragtag group, that you might not consider. But the sound guy might go like, well, honestly, if we do this, like, great idea. It's great.
Well, and working together in such a way that, or maybe having that rapport that you're comfortable with, that is good, because sometimes it's okay to have suggestions. Other times you just have to film and you have to work, and to know kind of what time it is great. And I feel like we got there with Princess Night. Like,
oh sure,
we're standing behind a camera trying to figure something out, and a puppeteer is like, well, what about this? And we had the rapport, we had the relationship that they knew when it would be useful to interrupt, and maybe when to hold that back, and like, oh, it looks like Ryan and TC are, or at least I felt this way, like it looks like Ryan and TC are really kind of going, maybe they can figure it out, or maybe they can't, so I'm going to speak up. So I think that's important.
That is so, and you're right. It's that knowing when, and being able to create that family rapport, that collaborative rapport. Because I've been on less organized sets where the sound guy feels it necessary to start giving direction, and it's like, sorry, this is gonna sound a little mean, but know your role. But on the other hand, doing a 48 where like Corey Caseman, who was our go-to guy for years, would be able to solve a problem. He knew when to chime in. We knew when, if and when he said something, it was he. And you're right with Princess Night, that especially those who stuck all the way to the end, all knew each other so well, as friends, as family, as a filmmaking crew, when and where it was appropriate. And that's important across the board, no matter if it's a commercial or a music video or a feature film or a short film. It's having that group that understands their roles and is there to support, collaborate if and when necessary. So I'm grateful to have experienced Princess Nights and the shorts we've done with you guys, the commercials that I've worked on with you, and all the way to Sunset, to have created that atmosphere of collaboration and openness to ideas without it ever feeling toe stepping.
Yeah, and there's a book that I think we've talked about before, the Creativity Inc.
Yes,
talked about the Pixar method, and it kind of puts into tangible terms some of these ideas. But I just love their method, their idea of like, the ideas can come from anywhere, but then at some point, the decision maker, the buck has to stop somewhere. And I think we learned that, even early on with this indie crew working on Princess Night and some of these little 48-hour projects. And I've even used that in some of our commercial things, later on, when you're kind of like needing to get the crew on the same page and let people know that we've got an aggressive schedule. And when it comes to like the VFX shots, actually, I think I might have even said this on the Mundane Life of the Infurious David McMiller.
Yes.
My role on that project as assistant to the director and VFX supervisor was, I think I told people just like, hey, I've got to decide what's going to happen on these VFX shots. And there's always 20 different ways to solve it.
Right.
Well, we could layer that there and we could put this here, whatever. But if one person's pursuing one solution and then somebody else is thinking of solving it a different way, well, those don't necessarily mesh unless you're in that mode of like, okay, does someone have an idea on how to tackle this?
Sure,
and
sure,
then,
sure.
and then you need the time to like think about that and say, yeah, let's do that, or I think we're going to keep going this way.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got to have all the trust, you know, everyone's got to trust each other and know that like I don't have time to give you all the pleasantries and
Right.
say,
Yeah.
oh, thank you very much for that suggestion. That, you know, like we're in like move fast mode, and I
Mm-hmm.
need to be able to like, no, not right now, you know, and then
It's decisiveness to be able to be decisive is also very important, especially with tight schedules, and that goes to the having the pre-production conversations so that in the heat of the moment, it's like, okay, let's stick to our original vision. Trust me, I'm going to trust you. We're going to make this happen. Yeah, being decisive in the collaboration as well is also very important. Um, and there's a handful of times just working on Sunset where it was like, okay, this is what I want to happen. There were two scenes in particular that were very elaborate. All six main characters were going to be involved. There's going to be a lot of movement, and trying to decide how we were going to film it. It was like, stop, 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 stop. All right, John, you're going to stand over there. Just everyone step back. I'm going to bring the cast in. I'm going to block the scene, and you guys need. And John, keep your eye on where you think the camera should be placed so we can efficiently cover this. And making that decision without hemming and hawing, much more of like, should we shoot from here? Should we shoot from here? It was like being decisive. Like, okay, stop. All ideas need to stop. This is what we're going to do. And then we'll work from that point on. Is part of the collaboration. You're right. Like,
there we go. I think we're reconnecting. Let me just double check. Right when TC said the most important thing ever. Let's see. That's so weird. Give me just a sec. There we go. Yeah, okay. I know. Well, and you were talking earlier about StreamYard, which is another service that you can do this type of thing with. The nice thing about StreamYard is you guys would have continued talking and I would have just frozen out for a second. But because I'm hosting and streaming, it disconnected. So people have to reconnect to the Facebook link. Anyway, we are kind of wrapping up. We could probably talk for hours, and we'll just have to schedule another one so that we can continue to talk. Yes, exactly. But as we're wrapping up here, I do like to play some games. So we're going to play a little bit of charades. Yeah. Oh, you know what? I don't think I have any audio for you. Hang on. This is really classy today. Yeah. Everyone's heard me talk. The good thing is everyone's heard me talking. Yeah, you guys can see that you're frozen. So let me get their audio back. You guys both look like you're listening well. Okay. Hang on. Let me see this real quick. Yeah, sorry, Aaron. You only hear and see me. Let me fix this. TC and John are being very funny. Let's see. Here we go. Let's see. We're on Skype, right? Here. I know your audio is still not here either. Let's see. This will get real fun with my two frozen comrades. And oh, I wonder if I do this. Does that unfreeze you? No. Let's see. Hang on. I will disconnect and reconnect to the call. Okay. So we'll keep. Okay, so we're still streaming. Sorry, Aaron, and anyone who's watching a replay. My internet froze for a second or something, and it reconnected, but the Skype connection to these guys wasn't working. So let me try to get back in here. Okay. Let's see. All right. I got TC back. I don't have John back. Let's see.
You're live with Ryan and TC.
Oh, we got it. Oh.
It almost doesn't matter anyway because the stream. Oh, there we go. Is it? Yeah, it's broken into multiple pieces now. Anyway.
Oh no!
If it doesn't, it just goes to a new live post.
Yes, because it's a piece of crap.
It's like people have to like go find the other video.
I know.
You know, it's strange, Ryan. You suggested we would play a game. I didn't realize it was going to be this.
And that's our show for today. Thanks for tuning in. No, we will play a game. It's not how do you stream. That's not a game that I intended to play. So we're going to play charades. We've started playing that, and it's fun because we're terrible. And it can be difficult online. So I sent you a link over Messenger to a word generator from thegamegal.com.
Okay. Let me go over to Messenger here. I only see RF. I don't see your face right now.
Oh, yeah. Here, let's...
I've
got multiple cameras.
It's going to be hard to play charades with Ryan.
There's his handsome face.
Yeah.
There we go.
I've got this camera that you see, TC.
Mm-hmm.
And then because I'm pretentious and we own a lot of equipment, I've also got that camera right there.
Nice.
So I guess the people at home can see this one. Also, Aaron, you're like my favorite person who watches this. You're just my favorite person in general because you're hilarious. And his commentary during this, John, you're great in that one. I only see here Ryan says there's only one watching, me, I guess. And then when we got it back up, nice, good job. So
thank you, Aaron. For the
Aaron,
play-by-play.
you're the best. I appreciate you.
All right, so where did you send me the link here?
In Messenger.
Like text message or Facebook?
Facebook, yeah. Because on my PC, I lied.
Oh, there we go.
I'm a liar. Did I send it to you?
There we go. Word generator. Got it.
I don't know who I sent it to. I sent it to someone else.
No, I got the word generator. The game gal.
Okay, good.
Family friendly games for you and yours. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. So you pick charades, and then we'll go to hard.
Ooh. All right. So going to game is charades.
Yeah, I only see charades.
Yeah. Is that the same thing? Is that just how they? Is it?
Oh my gosh! Yeah, that's an earlier version of Charizard. It's like charades, Charizard, Charmander, and Charizard.
That seems accurate. That seems very accurate. Yeah. Okay, so I got charades and hard, and then I just have to click new word to get this party started. I suppose.
Yeah, and we'll finish with you to be the best. So maybe we'll start with John, and we'll try our best, but whoever gets everyone to guess the most, they win.
Okay,
that's the rule. It's very simple.
All right, so John's gonna be our performer first.
Yep, I will set a timer for 1.5 minutes. 1.5 minutes.
Stretch it out.
Stretch it out.
Let's see.
Stretch it out.
Ooh, I gotta crush a little candy. Hang on just a second. All right, timer, 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Okay.
If you're just joining the stream and about to watch us only play charades, there's another video you can watch.
We talk movies. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, like right below, there's a whole hour and a half. This is the charade stream.
Okay.
All right, so we got a couple people on Facebook, and we got Aaron and Amanda. So you guys got to guess. So here we go. This is John in charades, and we're guessing. Here we go in 3, 2, 1, go.
Grimacing. Smiling.
Clicking. Hat. Helmet. Fighter pilot.
Sniper. Welder.
Ooh, nice. Fish. Swim.
Swimming. Fish.
Swimmy.
Shark.
Swimmy. Dolphin.
Shark.
You're stabbing.
Shark attack.
You're spear hunting a fish. A narwhal.
Laser shark.
It's got. Oh, fencing.
Swashbuckling.
It's a swordfish.
Swordfish.
Yes. Very good. All right. Reading.
Counting receipts.
Book
end. Reading.
Counting receipts.
Reading a book. Picture book. Oh,
fold
Playboy.
out. Centerfold.
I
the
read
top.
for the articles.
Flipping. You're reading
pictures.
at the top. Turning it sideways. Table of contents. Index.
You're showing me show and tell.
Oh, my microphone is muted for a second there. Maybe because I was yelling. Basketball. Dribble. Jump shot. Basketball player. Michael Jordan.
Layup.
Michael Jordan.
Free throw.
2 to 3 words. Dunk. Shoot.
Free throw.
2, 3. There's 2 points and there's 3 points. Free throw. 3-pointer. Dennis Rodman.
Mario.
That was Michael Jordan.
No, I said
sorry.
Michael Jordan.
I couldn't hear you.
I'm sorry, I was muted. Even before you did 23.
Okay.
Okay.
The other one was magazine. You were so close, but I just.
Oh, that's a tough one.
The hard category is hard. It's like
Yeah.
you're like, well, it's an item, but.
So Amanda early on was guessing baby shark, mommy shark, daddy shark, and then
TC got it was swordfish.
do.
Swordfish.
Oh, I said it before him. I was just muted.
I will apologize. I think I muted you. Ryan, because like I have it on talking mode, so I needed to see John and trying to identify what he's doing through a tiny circle. I was like, oh well, I'll just mute Ryan on my end. I didn't realize I muted you on the whole end.
You just muted me so you could get swordfish. I see how it is.
That's right.
Andrew says Jordan, and then afterwards he says Michael. In case you were wondering, Jordan. Good job, guys.
Jordan the country. There you go.
Yeah. All right. So I'm up next. Minute and a half. John, do you know how many you got? Swordfish.
Swordfish.
Michael
welder.
Jordan. Welder.
We did get Jordan.
Yeah, I said it like several times, but and then I looked up. I was like, oh, I'm muted.
So maybe 3. I skipped.
We didn't get magazine.
We didn't get magazine. Yep. Some challenging ones in there.
All right, here we go. You ready?
I skipped the word shift.
Oh my gosh.
You're like
over
yeah.
Okay, here we go. Minute 30.
Okay, here we go.
Sleeping. Resting. Nap. Crying.
Nightmare.
Very
good.
Clock. Watch.
Time.
Contemplating. Thinking.
Wondering.
Strategizing. Wondering.
Little word.
Smaller.
No.
Thought. Think.
Searching, watching, reading. Fist pump. Fist pump.
Fist.
Punch. Maybe we got that one. Drink. Sip. Cup. Water.
Drinking. Coffee. Mug.
It's half
canteen.
full.
Glass.
Full glass.
I'm all over the place here.
Rainbow.
Rainbow. Double rainbow. Movie. Filmmaker. Camera. Projector. Filmmaker.
Projector.
Rotoscope.
Film camera. It's a
lens.
camcorder.
DSLR.
Camera.
I'm going to move on.
Type.
I have a lot of hard words that I'm skipping.
Motorcycle.
Jet ski. Skiing.
Jet ski. That was kayaking.
Okay.
Well, it could be like you could be driving.
That was great. Okay, so you guys got full. I wish I could go back through the words. Nightmare. I have the worst memory.
Clock. We got
clock. Excuse me. There was one or two more.
Could be good jet ski.
What's the thinking one that you said was small? You said it was a smaller word. Thinking.
Yeah, I was trying to go to puzzle.
Puzzle.
I'm pretty sure we got 4. Also, Aaron missed the whole interview. He was watching The Last Mandalorian making of episode.
Oh.
Go back and rewatch it. Okay.
Yeah.
So TC, you got to beat 4.
Okay, here we go.
We will do our best.
All right.
Whenever you're ready, here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. Laugh.
Hysterical. Laughter. Chuckling.
Belly laugh.
Comedy. Comedic. That's hilarious. Funny.
Yep, there it is.
Laugh
funny.
aloud. Whip.
Throwing something.
Me. I'm somebody who plots.
He's an evil
fisherman.
whipping guy.
You're a sadist.
He's got a hat.
You're an evil guy. Villain.
He's conniving.
You're a whipper.
Stuff.
You're a boomerang whipper. Whip.
Torturer.
Okay. New word, pour.
Oh, it's a drink. There's a
pour.
There's something.
Pitcher.
Yes, there it is.
Nice. You evil pitcher. Flying, swimming, floating. Picture.
Camera.
Picture.
Take a picture.
Evil beard, mustache. Cat.
Yep.
Cat.
Cat. Yep. Oh shit.
Reveal. Wedding. Marry.
Wedding veil.
Fiance.
The veil. The bride.
I'm the bride.
Yes, bride.
Yeah. Appendix.
Pocket. Spleen.
Ribs.
Yep. Rib.
Squish.
Crush.
Crush.
Smash.
Yes.
Smile.
Smiling.
Teeth.
Happy.
Grin.
Grin. Yep.
Nice.
8. There you go.
Wow.
That was amazing.
A lot.
Yeah.
You destroyed us. So
Could be that we're good guessers.
You could. Yeah. You guys just destroyed me.
you win everything. So just, look out in the mail. We'll send that everything. And, you can show your friends that you won the happy hour charades.
Yay.
So
picture was great. I'm like throwing. Okay, wait. Let's start over. What is this thing?
Well, it was like an evil. It was like an evil pitcher. You're like,
Yeah.
A baseball cap. It's tough because I'm like contained in this tiny square, so I can't like get up and jump around.
Yeah.
And this right here, I thought it was like an evil
It definitely was evil. This worked though. Yeah. So we're wrapping up here. Like I said, we'll definitely have you back because we can just talk for hours. But
I'd love to be back. That'd be great.
What wisdom do you want to leave us with, or things do you want to pitch?
Well, wisdom or pitching, that's two different things there. So I would say that the joy that comes in filmmaking, what we've done for the past decade together, if not longer in terms of like filming with our old camcorders when we were little, is the fun that comes out of it. And as hard as it can be to be sweating on a 90-degree set and trying to hammer out 10 pages in a day, at the end of the day, it's fun. And if it's not fun, even at its hardest, then you're doing something wrong. It shouldn't just be a job. It shouldn't just be, never make something out of, never do something just to prove someone wrong. Like, I think the secret to our success is that we're playing. We're just kids with very expensive equipment who get to play together and use our imaginations And I think that's so important, whether it's something silly for YouTube or something serious for a client or something as difficult as shooting a feature. That just have some fun, and don't be afraid to make it fun, because I've certainly worked with people who say I'm not having a good enough time. But go watch a behind the scenes of Taika Waititi making a movie. Okay, if that doesn't inspire you, then maybe you're in the wrong department.
Yeah, that's a funny thing to say too, because I feel like one of the things that drew me to it, aside from the art and storytelling, is like watching behind the scenes footage. I'm like, that seems like so much fun. Yeah. I want to do that.
It's hard, and you got to put a lot of effort and dedication and craft into what you do, but ultimately just try to enjoy it, even when it sucks. Because this is what we all want to do, is tell stories and just be kids playing in our sandbox. And so that would be my words of advice there. And in terms of something to plug, if anyone out there is interested in hearing what the writing process, like how I approach writing, I have my writing partner and podcasting partner, Jim Brzelik. We have a podcast called The Studio Demands It, where every episode we are given a topic on the spot. We then have to craft an entire film with the stipulations given to us. So with zero preparation, very little preparation, we have to go through the brainstorming and screenwriting, crafting process live on the air. So you can check us out at studiodemandsit.com or on Apple Podcasts and Google Play.
And to be clear, I think, and I've watched many of these, and I think what I love most about it is like figuring out what doesn't work about the movie and then how you guys would actually make it work. You know, like if you were given the prompt, and now I'm not going to have any examples, but we're going to do an action film with these 5 characters, and it has to be, the start of a trilogy or a serial or something.
Yeah,
it's amazing because you can take what has happened and you guys explore, and I think come up with really interesting ways to do it in a way that could be way more enjoyable than the actual movie.
Thank you for listening, and yeah, that's the fun of whether it's a movie that already exists and trying to figure out what did some suit wearing schmo who just counts beans say had to be in this movie, and how did we get this result? Okay, how can we do these demands but get a better result?
Right.
And that's the fun of it. You get to just listen to our process, and you don't really have to listen in any order. You can just look for a movie you might be interested in hearing our take on, or just jump in. The most current episode as of this airing is we were given the demand of doing a Typhoid Mary film, which was a demand given to us by a listener, and we were like, oh gosh, what are we going to do with this? But we found we played with it, and you can hear our process on Studio Demands. So me and Jim. So
yeah.
But thank you guys for having me on. I love we can talk for hours. We have talked for hours. So I always appreciate connecting with you guys and just nerding out on movies.
Yeah, likewise. It's funny, like I guess we'll do the final wrap up with that. Like, give us maybe the one thing that you're watching, because that's one thing we always talk about, like just the creative that's out there that we're like, oh my gosh, you have to see this.
Okay.
So yeah, give us that one thing.
The thing that I just completed was season 2 of Barry. If you have access to HBO, I can't recommend Barry enough. We used Barry as a point of reference for the feature we just shot in terms of how they do the camera work. There's an efficiency in how Bill Hader directs. Barry is it's a darkly funny, well-crafted series on HBO. If you have access to it or can somehow acquire it, can't recommend Barry enough.
Yeah, and Bill Hader is a former assassin who wants to turn his life around and take up acting, is essentially the byline.
He moves to LA and wants to be an actor. Yeah.
Yeah. That's an amazing one. Have you seen on Apple TV The Morning Show?
I have not. That's Carell, Aniston, and Witherspoon, right?
Yes. I would love to get your take on that. So maybe as an assignment to you, if you could watch that at some point.
Okay, like, I'll give it a watch.
I feel like some of the best TV that I've seen, because it explores some heavy stuff. Carell's character, it starts off with him being exposed as doing some bad stuff with like the women interns and things. But then you actually see his side of the story and you're like, okay, that stuff is still really bad. He's still a person. How do I feel about all this? You know, it's
great.
There's a who's it? Martin Short plays kind of like a Weinstein style character.
I didn't know he was in it. I love it. I love Martin Short.
Yeah, and so there's a scene where they're commiserating, and Steve Carell's like, "Oh my gosh, you're a monster." So yeah, that's a good one.
I'll check it out.
I recommend that. But
John, you want to throw an assignment at me as well?
Oh, I could. I mean, it's been a busy week, and last week nothing's changed from what I said last week. We did watch
Gentlemen Broncos.
Our following, watched the most recent episodes of Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Great.
I just enjoy that show. I like being in that universe, and it's a very interesting. I guess I could say this about it is a new thought that maybe I haven't shared here. It's an interesting example of what writers can do to keep what you're always doing with a series, especially, is you always need to return to the storyline or return to the original cast as much as possible.
Sure.
You know, like, yes, we're all amazed when they kill off an amazing character in a series, and you're like, wow, I can't believe that happened. But really, you didn't want that to happen.
Yeah.
You know, well, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., because of the universe they're in, they can keep bringing people back, and it doesn't feel cheap. You know,
Good.
Like, there's some where you're like, well, this is clearly a way to bring this person back. But they've made it all fit. You know, whether they're using LMDs, you know, live model decoys, whether time travel gets, you know, introduced, it all fits in the world pretty comfortably.
Yeah.
Or they end up in, there's one season they spend most of their time in, I forget what it's called. They're in the framework. There you go. Yeah. They're in this computer simulation, and so then you get characters that, you know, have been gone, but because you can just, well, this is a computer program, they're running a simulation. So it's back. Yeah, it's been fun to see that keep happening. We keep going back and getting these characters and pulling them back, you know, bringing them back to life.
Great.
Yeah, that's one that I've been watching too with my kids, because they love all the superhero stuff, and I think for the most part it's you know, there's nothing problematic for kids in there. But I'm only on like season 3, and so you're talking about all this stuff. I'm like, what is gonna happen? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I think we talked about Community last week too. Like, Community has like 2 normal seasons, and then after that, everything is like a genre or, you know, like a satire of some kind of film or TV trope or whatever. Which, you know, I think Joss is kind of the man on that, and Joss is an executive producer, Joss Whedon, of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So yeah, it makes sense that show's doing that as well. But all right, I think that's it. Any other closing thoughts? Otherwise, you know, well, cheers to you.
I mean, I'll talk all day, but otherwise, if you don't want this to be a 3-hour show or 5-hour show, you can wrap it up here. So.
That's good. So we'll stop this and we'll start the next 3-hour show in about a minute. So tune in to that.
I'm going to give you my list of favorite Superman and Batman movies that don't have Superman and Batman in them. All right, here we go. Hour 3. Let's begin.
By the way, your Man of Steel versus Superman Returns 1 minute rewatch is, you know, we get a comment every week or 2 comments every week.
I can't believe I'm so happy. It's incredible.
It's just slowly like people love their Superman stuff and are so opinionated about it. So check that out over on BitLife Show. You could probably find it through Jeff's channel or Jeff's channels, TC's channels, my channels. It's all interconnected. And next week we've got Jordan Post cinematographer, friend of ours. Yeah, he's going to be coming on. We get to work and travel with him so much, so we're going to hang out and talk about all things, I guess, visual and maybe video games, because we play a lot of video games together. So tune in next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. And thank you, TC, so much for coming. This was
always a pleasure, guys. Love it.
Thank you so much.
Love it.
All right. See you guys next week.